that is the another topic which is functions, function declaration. How the function declarations will be there in the what I can say, this one in the ECMAScript. So let's try to see the function declaration. So let's say that we are having a function name. So this is the name, and I'm using console.log. So this is the function declaration we are having. Normal function declaration is like this. When you want to call the function, here you can call it directly. Okay, so you are able to call this one directly, Leela. Now we are able to get the output. So this is the normal declaration. We have already seen about the JavaScript in the JavaScript. Now in ECMAScript, so new type of declaration has been introduced. So we can also declare the function in a different way also. This is also okay, fine. You can also declare it, not a problem. In ECMAScript, a linear way has been introduced. So that is called as an arrow functions. Now let's say that the same thing I can use in such a way that where name is equal to, I am declaring it this one. I already told you that functions can also be declared as an variables also. So I can use function of something like this, and console.log like this also we can use it. So console.log of Leela. So if we try to use this one, I can remove this one all. So we can also use the same thing. So then also it will work, not a problem. Where name is equal to function. So what is it when I have to use it? So let's try to remove it. So now let's try to see about the arrow functions. So now arrow functions, how we can declare it. So here I can use this one. Okay. Now I can remove this function here, and I can use in such a way that is equal to greater than. Okay, so I can use it like this, and I can use it here like this. Okay, so this one is also valid. If I try to see the output, hey, name is not a function, right? It's coming here. Where name is equal to, I have used it, fine, not a problem. I am using, okay, name variable, that one is overriding, I think. So let's try to use it function in this editor. So let's try to use like this. So now I'm able to get the output. So that name conflicts in the editor, so the variable conflicts, they are coming. So now here we will use it as a function. So now if you try to use the same thing, where function, and I am trying to use this one. So the same thing previously also, the same thing function also, if you use it here, the same thing, it will work, not a problem. Without any problem it will work. But now the latest declaration, what I have did it, I have removed this function. Okay, I have used is equal to and greater than, and this is the shortest notation of this one. This is called as an arrow function. So we call it as an arrow function. Now we can also declare it like this. You can also declare it as a let also, not a problem. Okay, let function is equal to, I can use it like this. Now if I try to execute that one, I'm able to get the output. So now for example, let's say that I'm having a sum or add function. I will be adding 1, 2. So now this add function, this is the add function. It needs to take the value x comma y. Okay, x comma y, and it will return the value. It should return the value, return x plus y. Okay, so this is the value and it return. So now if I try to call this one, okay, we need to do the console here. Console.log add 1, 2. If I try to execute this one, then I'm able to get an output of 3. So this is one option. Now you are having only one line here. So only one line of code is present in this function. So if you are having only one line of code, so you can remove these brackets. Okay, and you can do this one. So you can do this one like this. So return x comma y. So when you are not having this one, only one line is there. So there is no need for us to add the return also. Okay, so now you can have it like this, x comma y is equal to x plus y. Now if you try to see the output, then also I am able to get the same output. So if you are having only one line, so you can use this as an x plus y. Now there is no need to add the return function. So if you are having more than one line, means for example, let's say that I want to store it one variable. So let's say that let c is equal to, I will store it in one variable and I will return c. So then I will need to return c. So if you are having more than one line, means so you need to use the brackets and you need to return the c. If you are having only one line, means so in a shorter way you can have it like this. So now you cannot have like this. Two lines are there, means you cannot remove that blocks curly braces. So now here there is no need to use the return thing. So see here, I can do something like x plus y. So this one also works. So this is also what I can say is arrow function declaration. For example, let's say that I am having only one. Okay, I am sending add one. I need to do only x value, and I will add something like x plus 5. Okay, so I am doing some with a constant x plus 5. So I am sending only one argument. So now if you try to see here, I am able to get output 1 plus 5, 6. So if you are having only one argument, means there is no need to keep the brackets also. So like this also you can do it. So now here, then also I will be able to get an output. So this is also valid one. So like this we can use the different types of notation. So these are the different types of notation in which arrow function works. So if you are having multiple parameters, means then you cannot use it like this. You need to cover it. You need to use the parentheses like this. Now if you are not having, if you are having only one line, means you can use like this, and there is no need to have a return value. Then there is no need to have a return value. If you are having more than one line, means you can use like this. So depends on the situation. So you can use it like this, and here you need to return the value. Okay, so these all the things are valid. So this is about the arrow function. So how we can use this arrow function is, for example, let's say that we have learned about the set interval. Okay, set interval takes two parameters. That is nothing but first one is a callback function. Okay, callback function, and the another one is the timer. So at what time I need to execute, at every interval what is the time I need to execute. So let's say that for every 2 seconds this callback function has to execute it. So what I can do, so here it will take a function, and this function, let's say that console.log, it will try to print hello. So this is the normal thing. So if I try to run it, so for every 2 seconds it will print hello, 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 like this it will print. Let's try to make its timer faster. I will try to do every 1 second. So for every 1 second it will print hello, 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 like this it will go and print. So that means it is taking a callback function. For every 1 second it will execute the lines, whatever the lines you have mentioned in this function. Now this function we can convert it into an arrow function. So with easily you can convert it into an arrow function. So how can I convert is, first you can remove this function thing, and you can have a is equal to greater than like this. That's it, finish. Now if I clear it and if I try to run again, then also it will try to work. Now you are having only one line, so there is no need for us to use these brackets. So you can remove these brackets, and you can remove the semicolon also, and you can use it like this. So this also works, not a problem. If I try to remove hello 1, if I try to add it, if I clear it and if I run again, so now hello 1 it is trying to print again. Okay, so like this we can able to convert. So like this we can able to convert this constant thing, the arrow functions, normal functions into arrow functions very easily. So this is all about the arrow functions concept. So now in the arrow functions concept, so then what is the difference between this arrow functions concept you need to understand. So I will tell you 1 second. So the one thing, so now we understood about the arrow functions. So then we need to understand one difference between a normal function and also an arrow function. We need to understand it. For example, let's say that I'm having a button. Assume that I'm having a button. Let's take that, click here. I'm having a button. Okay. So I will catch this button. So in the JavaScript, how we can catch this button? Let's try to remove these all things. How can I catch this button? Where, or otherwise you can use the let also. Now you understood about the let. Let button is equal to document dot query selector of button. So I am using this button. I got the button. Now what I will try to do here. Now here we got the button thing. So button dot add event listener. Add event listener. Add event listener of click. So when you click on that button, so we need to execute a function. So let's assume that I need to execute a fn function. So we have already fn, right? So now let's say that I will declare a function. So let fn equal to, so I can have it like this, arrow function, or otherwise first we will try to have normal function. Let's try to check with a normal function, then afterwards we'll use this one. So I have a function fn. Okay, and let's try to do console.log of this. What will happen? What will happen? Let's try to see. Okay, this. So what will be the this here? So normally if you try to see, so before implementing this one, let's try to copy with me. So function of hi, if I mention it here, I already told you, if I try to print console.log of this, so what will be happening here? So what is the this in this one? So if I try to print here, so this means you are getting hello y. Okay, I didn't call anything, right? Okay, fine. So I am calling this hi. So now if I try to print this one, what will be the this here? Try to take here, you will be getting long big object that is nothing but a window object. Okay, so this refers to the window object here. So this is the window object. Now for example, let's say that you need to understand this one also before proceeding. So where object is equal to name Leela I am having, and here I am having a function, okay, fn. So this one will be a function, and here I will try to do console.log of this. Okay, so now here in this object we are having this thing. If I try to do call object.function, so here I am calling object.function, then what will be the this here? So here the this changes. So here the this refers to this object only. Okay, so this is the concept you need to keep it in mind. So the function where it is, from where you are calling, depending on the scenarios, this will change here. Okay, in the same scenario, so you are having a button and you are calling this function. So who is calling this function? Button is calling this function. Now this refers to this button. If I try to print here and I need to click on the button. If I click on this button, now this we are able to execute this. So this refers to the button here. You are able to see the button, right? So the tag name button and all those things. So this refers to the button. So now you need to keep it in mind that, so calling on this function, so function of something like the old interpretation of representation, that this refers to the thing whoever is calling this function. Okay, if I try to call this function normally, okay, if I try to call this function normally, so normally means so without any button, so I am calling this function normally. If I try to call this one now this one will become a window object. Why? Because nobody is calling. Who is calling this one? This one is called by the window only. So that is the reason that this refers to the window. But whereas here when I click on the button, who is calling this function? Button is calling this function. So that means this becomes the button. So this is one thing you need to understand in the functions. Now here let's try to change it to arrow functions. Okay, so here I can use let function is equal to, and I am using like this. Okay, so this is the arrow function representation, right? So now if I try to use fn, I am calling without any problem. So here it will be having like this. If I try to run here, function is called. Okay, so here the variable hoisting will work. So here let's try to, sorry, cannot access before initialization. What is that? I have used it. Okay. So let's try to add it at the top. So now if I try to see here, the function I have called here, this one becomes the window function. Okay, this one is the window thing. Fine. So whatever you expected, it's working fine. Now let's try to click on the button. Okay, so let's clear it this one all. So click on the button. Now I am clicking on this button. So when I click on this button, if you try to see, then also this refers to the window object only. So this is the main thing which you need to remember. So here we are telling that button, when you call with an arrow function, so in this arrow function, so whoever is calling, it will not care. So this one always refers to the global this only. So if you want to send this button, means what you can do here, I can send the dot bind of button. I can send the button value. So here I am trying to send the bind of button. If I try to see here, this one will be an window object only. Okay. Let's try to clear off this one all. I think whether this one will work or not, I don't know. Let's try to see it. And also it is having this one window object only. So function dot bind. So we'll try to see after this one. So first you need to understand the arrow concept. Arrow thing is very much important. So now arrow function, this refers to always the global function only. Okay, so this is the one thing which you need to remember. This is the main thing you need to remember in the arrow functions and the main and the normal function. What is the thing is that this refers to the what I can say, always the global thing here. and whenever you're using the normal function, that this refers to that whoever is calling the function, for that one it will be it will behave it. So this is the main thing you need to understand. Now let's go on to the another thing. So not only this one, so in the functions, so we also have another thing. What is that? Is nothing but an default parameters. So you can also have the default parameters in the function. For example, let's say that I am having a function. Okay, so this works in both the normal function and also in the arrow function also. Let's try to take number1 comma number2. I will try to take it here. So console.log of number1, and I will do console.log of number2, and here I will try to do return number1 is equal to number2. So you can use triple equal to also, not a problem. So here I am using something like this. So here what I will try to do, I can do console.log of 1 comma 2. So I am doing console.log of compare of 1 comma 2. So this is normal thing. And if you try to see the output here, so we are able to get number1 and number2. I am trying to print here. We are able to get it, and the comparison we are getting it as false. Fine, it's working fine. So if I don't send anything here, if I don't send anything value here, so I am sending only one parameter. So then what will happen is, so another one is an undefined. So number2 automatically it will become an undefined, and we are rating it as false. So we can also assign default parameters to this one. So if the function is not receiving any parameters, means you can define a default parameters for this one. So let's say that I am mentioning it as a 2. So if you try to run this one, so now number2, so this compare function is not sending any number2 value, but still if it doesn't receive any number value, so you can mention it as a default parameter. So this one is in the latest one, it is there. So in the older one, it is not there. These are all default parameters and all those things. You can also assign it to the here also. So you can also assign it to here, and therefore, so that if you are not receiving any, if you are not sending anything, then so this one will take. So 3 and 2 will take as the default values. Now, for example, let's say that you can also assign something like I am having a value, let x is equal to 7. So you can also assign number2 as a x also. If I try to send only 1, 3. So here 3 and 7 you will be at value. So now you can also assign variables also like this. Or otherwise you can also do next number is equal to number1 also, you can do it. So that means whatever the value you are sending to the number1, number2 also will be taken if you don't send any value. Now here I am sending 3 as the value, right? So here I will try to keep the 4. Now if you try to see here, number1 and number2 is having 3 values. But you cannot use the number2 before here. Okay, so then the problem comes. Here the problem comes. What is the problem? Let's try to see. So we are sending the values. For example, if you don't send any value, then see. So you cannot access number2. Why? Because number2 has not been initialized after the number1. So number2 is initialized after the number1 only. So you are trying to access the number2 before initialization. So that is the reason you are getting. But whereas number1 you can use it afterwards. So that is the main thing you need to understand. So these are the default parameters. So default parameters are also accepted in the function. Not only in the function, in the arrow functions also it will be accepted. So this is all about the arrow functions in the ECMAScript. So this is how the arrow functions behave in the ECMAScript.